I failed to transform into a dragon and got reincarnated as a tiny snake. And to make it worse, I almost got squashed flat while hibernating. Like someone nearly turned me into roadkill. I was furious, ready to bite this guy's head off. But then I noticed something weird about him. He was giving off serious dragon energy. Back when I was still cultivating, I'd heard the legend. Mortal emperors carry dragon energy, protected by heaven itself. Mess with one and you'd be drowning in karmic debt forever. My true form is a flood dragon. Failed the ascension, got reborn as a snake. That's basically heaven throwing me a lifeline. If I killed this guy on a whim, heaven wasn't gonna let that slide. But interrupting my hibernation? That still needed some payback. So I pulled back my venom and thought, I won't kill him, but a few bites? Totally fair game. Then I tasted his blood, and it was surprisingly sweet. So I just went ahead and drank my fill. But afterward, the guy's breathing got even weaker. And then, boom, thunder started rolling across the sky. Yeah, obvious sign. If this dude died, heaven was gonna put that on me. I started to panic. Then I had a genius idea. I went out and gathered every healing herb I could find, then squeezed out the juice with my snake body to treat his wounds. Some of those thorny herbs cut right through my scales. When I couldn't take it anymore, I'd crawl back to the west cave to recover. This went on for 3 whole days. But the guy kept getting worse, not better. He was starting to slip away. Then a bolt of heavenly lightning came crashing down from above. I nearly jumped out of my scales. If that thing hit me, I'd be straight up vaporized. In the end, I had no choice. I gritted my teeth and gave him every last bit of my cultivation power. If he lives, I'll take it back double. If he dies, I'll just eat him. With that thought in mind, I slowly drifted off. Xiao Yunzheng opened his eyes and found a white snake coiled right on his chest. What the? Did I literally land in a snake pit? He'd been hunted down by men in black and fallen off a cliff. He was sure he was dead, but somehow he woke up. He stared at the white snake, who looked like she was asleep. Wait, did a snake save me? No way. If a snake actually saved me, that thing's gotta be something supernatural. Just then, I groggily opened my eyes. The second Xiao Yunzheng and I locked eyes, he froze. I just woke up and I was hungry. I eyed his wrist like it was a snack. He tensed up. Please don't eat me. He tried to move. Couldn't budge at all. He could only watch helplessly as my fangs pierced right into his wrist. A moment later, his eyes went glassy. This snake is drinking my blood. He looked more carefully and found matching bite marks on both wrists. So this snake isn't even venomous? And she's just been draining me this whole time? What are you staring at? It's just a little blood. Quit looking at me like that. You're not even poisoned. I flicked my tongue twice and gave a little shake of my head. This snake actually understands what I'm saying? How many days was I out? He asked without thinking. Then he caught himself. Sure, the snake can understand me. Doesn't mean she can answer. I watched him get all flustered and let a little smirk flash in my eyes. I drew a 5 with the tip of my tail, then turned to go. Time to find this guy some food. After all, he was my walking blood supply. Xiao Yunjing just sat there looking confused. This snake has definitely gone full spirit mode. It was freezing outside. My wounds were killing me and I had 0 cultivation power. I almost said forget it. Why am I hunting for this guy anyway? But if he didn't eat, I wouldn't have blood to drink. So I dragged myself forward and crawled toward the wild fruit tree I knew from before. The plan was to grab some fruit, take it back, feed the blood bag, and then drink my fill to make up for it. I climbed the tree and curled up a few fruits. On the way back, I grabbed some medicinal herbs too. Xiao Yunzheng heard the familiar hissing and looked toward the cave entrance. He saw me dragging myself along, barely moving, struggling hard. My tiny tail was wrapped around 2 or 3 wild fruits. Along with some herbs, my scales were crusted with dried blood. Something in his chest tightened. He was seeing something deeply human from a tiny little snake. And what really shocked him was, I rolled the fruit right up to his lips, then used my body to mash the herb. I stashed the prey somewhere safe and rushed over as fast as I could. At this point, my food source, sword in hand, stumbling forward, covered in blood, ice cold, deadly serious, eyes sharp and ruthless, one guy against dozens. And he still stood there like a rock, not a single trace of fear. Then someone lunged at him with a sword. Xiao Yunzheng blocked it. Blades clashed, sparks flew everywhere. He couldn't hold his ground and stumbled back a few steps. Then more of them charged in, swords carrying a bone-chilling aura, swarming in. I seized the moment, shot up and sank my fangs into one guy's throat. Within seconds, his whole body went stiff. Blood everywhere, dropped and didn't get back up. Watch out. A venomous snake, this little snake. Not just venomous, but deadly poisonous. But why didn't it attack me back then? It actually saved me instead. That thought only flashed through my head for a split second. I saw someone thrusting a sword forward. Xiao Yunjing's pupils snapped tight. He reached out and grabbed the blade barehanded. His blood had this distinct smell to it. Dripping onto me 1 drop at a time, I snapped back to it. My tiny little eyes locked on, shot straight up and launched, right at that guy sneaking up on Xiao Yunjing from behind. Sword ready. He slashed a long gash across Xiao Yunjing's back. 1 more inch and it would have been over. Xiao Yunjing would have been dead, but the white snake had already coiled around that guy's neck. Ice-cold fangs drove deep into his veins. Venom in, no chance of surviving. The second he let go, Xiao Yunjing finally gave out and dropped to 1 knee. Your Highness, today is the day you die. Those voices, ragged like demons. I coiled around Xiao Yunjing's arm, flicking my tongue. I can't lose my spiritual energy right now, or Xiao Yunjing dies today. His cold eyes dimmed ever so slightly. He forced the corners of his mouth up, like he wanted to say something, but he was losing blood way too fast. He even thought, all this blood going to waste. Might as well let the little snake drink it. I reared up in fury and hissed twice. These people hurt me, drained my cultivation, and nearly destroyed the food source I spent so much time saving. Both sides on edge, neither daring to make a move. I quietly channeled what little cultivation I had left. To heal Xiao Yunzheng, the bleeding stopped. Xiao Yunzheng stared at me in shock. I slid off his body and landed in the snow. Follow me. Xiao Yunzheng caught on fast. He pushed through the pain and bolted after me. I led him to a cave. Those guys were right on our heels, and then a deafening wave of hissing erupted. Snakes of every color raised their bodies, tongues out, deadlocked on them. It's a snake den. Then the screaming started and didn't stop. Less than 15 minutes later, silence. I led Xiao Yunzheng into the cave. The snake swarm parted to make way. See, since birth, I've been able to cultivate, and I carry the energy of serpent kind. That made me the undisputed ruler of this snake den. Don't be scared. They won't hurt you. Xiao Yunzheng saw the worry in my eyes. He pulled a faint smile on that pale face of his. I'm fine. You hurt? Xiao Yunzheng's gaze moved over me inch by inch. He saw no wounds on me. Only then did he breathe easy. After a while, I went out to check the situation. They were all dead, so I slithered back and hissed a few times at Xiao Yunzheng. He looked at me, thought for a second, then said, "Let's head back." I gave a little nod. I mean, this guy is going to be emperor one day. He's pretty sharp. This snake den is no good for healing up, so I decided to take him back to my own cave. Along the way, I kept stopping and starting, picking up a bunch of medicinal herbs I'd need. Xiao Yunzheng's eyes deepened a few shades. She understands human speech, knows herbal medicine, knows numbers, can write, and commands thousands of snakes. This is way beyond what a regular awakened snake demon could explain. Whatever kind of spirit this little snake is. All I know is it just saved my life. Taking it home and keeping it might not be a bad idea. Besides, the white snake likes drinking my blood anyway. Little did I know my own food source was planning to keep me as a pet. Once Xiao Yunzheng's wounds were fully healed, he knew. It was time to move. Most of the people sent to find him before were basically all dead, so whoever they send next is going to be way more dangerous. That's why keeping the little snake close was the safest move. This trip was just recon, but that didn't mean it was risk-free. He held out his arm. Drink up. Might be back late today. Wait, what does my food source think he's doing? Is he leaving? Is he full? Doesn't want to drink anymore? I'll be back early then. He said it, gave my head a little pat, then turned and walked off. But I just couldn't stop worrying, so I quietly tailed him. Dead of winter, yet Xiao Yunzheng's steps were rock solid. I watched that dark figure in silence for a moment. This path around here, it's clearly not heading to any hunting ground. And pressed them against his wounds. His eyes narrowed. No wonder this little snake was covered in cuts and reeked of medicine. That explains everything. Little snake, you're the one who saved me? I flicked my tongue and stared at Xiao Yunzheng expectantly. Come on, eat it. Under my watchful gaze, Xiao Yunzheng took a bite of the fruit, and his face twisted instantly. This thing was sour and bitter. Ice cold, too. But in this weather, having anything to eat was a win. He pushed through the sourness and worked through the fruit bite by bite. 3 fruits down, he somehow felt even hungrier. I watched him finish. I let out a hiss. Fangs out, Xiao Yunzheng immediately got the message. You want blood. I nodded. Before Xiao Yunzheng could even respond, I'd already sunk my teeth into his wrist. His blood was still too thin. He really needed to eat more. I made a mental note. Tomorrow, catch him something with actual meat. After I finished drinking, I felt all warm and fuzzy and sleepy again. So under Xiao Yunzheng's stone-faced stare, I slowly slithered up onto his chest and coiled up for a nap. Is the snake seriously using my chest as a bed? 2 days later, Xiao Yunzheng was doing way better, well enough to sit up a little, but he was confused. How was he healing this fast? Before he could figure it out, a hissing sound cut him off. Something appeared at the cave entrance. Me dragging in a wild chicken. He quickly looked me over. No visible wounds. He let out a breath of relief. But the problem was he had nothing on him. How was he supposed to deal with this chicken? He sighed. I can't really eat this as is. But you can. He knew snakes could swallow prey whole, but this chicken seemed a little too big for me. So the two of us just sat there staring at the chicken, completely stuck. Xiao Yunzheng shook his head. Whatever. Guess I'm back on wild fruit. Just eat it! I spent 2 whole days guarding that thing, you know. Xiao Yunzheng looked at me helplessly. He could move now. He hesitated, then reached out a pale, slender hand and gently set it on top of my head. Excuse me? The audacity. I'm a serpent. You don't just go around patting my head. But then again, this guy was my blood supply. I let my head shift and gave a little nuzzle into his palm. Xiao Yunzheng felt something go soft in his chest. I really wish I had a knife right now. It's raw, can't eat it like this. I blinked. I actually knew where to find a sword, but I wasn't sure whether this guy would turn around and use it on me. I'd seen too many humans pull that kind of thing before. Give him a weapon and they flip on you instantly. I saved him. I was drinking his blood. What if he decided I was a demon and just killed me on the spot? I slowly coiled up on his chest. Human nature. Not a gamble I was willing to take. In my last life, I trusted a human once. And at the most critical moment of my dragon transformation, that same person rallied a whole army of cultivators to ambush me. I had no choice but to detonate my demon core and take them all down with me. This life, I was done dealing with humans. The only reason this guy was still breathing was because his blood was useful to me. Watching Xiao Yunzheng move around more freely, I decided to hand off the food hunting duties to him. I'd just give directions and drink blood. But that night, Xiao Yunzheng came back reeking of blood. Mixed with someone else's blood, too. I caught the scent the second he walked in. I shot up and locked eyes on Xiao Yunzheng, fully on guard. He was holding a sword. walking toward me, slow and steady, like a predator. Of course, he got a sword, and now he's about to be ungrateful. I reared up, fangs out, venom sac ready. Then suddenly Xiao Yunzheng dropped the sword. He walked toward me with a slight stumble, his voice low and warm. Hey, little snake. You scared? I was confused. What's going on? It wasn't until Xiao Yunzheng got close that I could see clearly. He was holding a fully dressed wild chicken. He reached out to pet my head. I dodged it like I was way too good for that. He looked at his blood-covered hands and let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, this is pretty gross. He set down the chicken and headed back out. A little while later, he came back with an armful of firewood, walked over to me, and I watched him start a fire like a pro. Then he rigged the chicken up to roast. At that point, he wiped his hands clean and patted my head. I had no idea what was happening. A smile crept into Xiao Yunzheng's eyes. Bet you've never had cooked food before, huh? I blinked. No salt, nothing. But that roasted chicken was already smelling incredible. Looked amazing, too. Xiao Yunzheng wasn't feeling great on the inside, though. Earlier, he'd spotted people out there searching for him. People who used to be his own men. Now hunting him down. Sometimes people are way worse than animals. I felt Xiao Yunzheng's energy shift suddenly. I turned to look at him. Firelight on his face, a small smile at the corner of his lips. Eyes soft. Hold on, not ready yet. Ever since Xiao Yunzheng made that roasted chicken, I was absolutely hooked on cooked food. But his wounds from that day out reopened, so I told him to stay and rest in the cave. I'd handle the hunting. Lucky day. Scored a pheasant and a rabbit. But just as I was heading back near the cave, I heard the sounds of a serious fight. Keep going straight from here and you hit the path down the mountain. So, after all the trouble I went through, healing him, hunting for him, pouring everything into this food source, now that he's better, he just wants to bounce, maybe I should just bite him dead. After walking for half a shichen, Xiao Yunzheng spotted a villager. The guy was out chopping wood. Xiao Yunzheng walked over to talk to him. I squinted my eyes. That villager was gripping his axe like he was about to do something. I bared my fangs and lunged. A venomous snake! Xiao Yunzheng spun around in surprise, just in time to catch the venomous snake flying at him. His eyes lit up with delight. He let out a soft laugh. You followed me out because you were worried, didn't you? Yeah, obviously I'm worried. You've barely let me drink any blood and now you're just leaving? I've barely gotten enough blood out of you and you're already trying to leave. Heartless human, what a guy. That snake is venomous. I snapped my jaws. He calmly patted my head, then turned to the villager and cupped his hands. My bad. This is my pet. Didn't mean to scare you. You really just said that? I'm the great serpent ancestor. There's no way I'm some human's pet. That's a straight-up insult. I was so mad I flashed my fangs and bit down hard on Xiao Yunzheng's wrist. The villager looked absolutely terrified, but saw no fear or signs of poisoning on Xiao Yunzheng whatsoever. That gave him a certain respect for this man who claimed to live as a hermit in the wild. This is Yue Shi Mountain. Down at the foot is Yue Family Village. If you don't mind, sir, you're welcome to come down the mountain with me. I ground my teeth. My fangs stretched out a little more. Sure enough, my food source was about to leave. Xiao Yunzheng glanced at me, then shifted his gaze to the villager. Thank you, but no need. I'll head down on my own. They parted ways with the villager. Xiao Yunzheng walked in thoughtful silence, leading me down the mountain. I flicked my tongue, eyes still drifting back toward the villager. Something felt off, especially that moment when the villager caught a look at Xiao Yunzheng's face. Xiao Yunzheng noticed me hissing and glancing back at the villager. His eyes darkened a shade. You sensed it too, didn't you? I gave a little nod. My tiny little eyes were locked dead on Xiao Yunzheng's face, but his expression barely shifted. Don't worry, I'm just heading down to scout things out today. If something's wrong, we turn back. Who said I was worried? I hissed back, clearly annoyed. Look, I still hadn't forgotten the fact that this guy once treated me like prey. Xiao Yunzheng's phoenix eyes curved into a smile. A little snake who worries about my safety. Honestly, ridiculously cute. One man, one snake. They made it down the mountain pretty fast. Sure enough, Yue Family Village was right at the base. But before they even reached the gate, about 20 people came straight at them, weapons in hand. Boss said keep him alive. Words barely out, they were already closing in. Xiao Yunzheng moved fast, cutting one of them down in an instant. But right then, something felt wrong with me. Hot, weak, restless all over. The heat of battle was setting something off inside me. It was like every bit of aggression in my body had been lit up. My whole body arched, like I was about to tear apart from the inside. Xiao Yunzheng gently scooped me up and tucked me into his chest. Stay right here. He could clearly tell something was wrong with me. But as long as those guys were still standing, he couldn't get me out of there. He had no way to leave with me. So he looked up, and those long, narrow eyes of his were filling with something dark, bleeding into something deeper. The killing intent around him surged, sharp and overwhelming. I felt awful. That awful feeling. Just like every time I shed my skin. By all logic, this was hibernation season. And during hibernation, snakes don't shed. That's just how it works. Curled up against Xiao Yunzheng's chest, feeling his heartbeat and the warmth of his body, I could feel that layer of skin slowly tearing. It hurt bad. I shot out my fangs and bit into his chest. Xiao Yunzheng's body tensed slightly, then quickly steadied, back to swinging his sword. But then things took a turn. 5 of them saw how lethal Xiao Yunzheng was, and something dark flashed in their eyes. They exchanged a look, and all moved on his shoulders at once. Xiao Yunzheng read their move, and dodged with a cold scoff, but 2 others were going straight for his chest. Xiao Yunzheng's killing intent blazed cold. Even as he dove out of the way, their blades still caught him in the chest. What happened next was just off. Xiao Yunzheng moved fast and brutal. The energy rolling off him was intense, and those phoenix eyes of his had gone blood red. And there I was on the ground, writhing. I could feel my skin tearing away from my body, piece by piece. The pain was real, very real. All I could feel was this burning rage spreading from my chest. My serpent body kept arching. The red in my eyes kept spreading until everything went completely crimson. Xiao Yunzheng saw it. His expression went dead cold. Those guys still wouldn't quit attacking me, and Xiao Yunzheng's eyes turned ice cold and vicious. He stepped right in front of me, shielding me with his body. His flying sword swept through. The last two guys dropped dead instantly. Xiao Yunzheng grabbed his sword. With his other hand, he grabbed me and tried to leave, but my body at that point couldn't move an inch. The moment Xiao Yunzheng's hand touched my body, I flinched so hard from the pain, my body curled up on instinct. Eyes red, I bit down hard on Xiao Yunzheng. His eyes were full of worry, brows furrowed tight. He knew they couldn't stay here. "Little snake, we have to go." He said that, tightened his grip, and grabbed hold of my body. He stood up, moving faster and faster, and just like that, they arrived at UXE village. But they'd barely reached the foot of the hill behind the village, when the air around them suddenly felt heavy. I let out a sharp, pained hiss, and launched straight into the air. I crashed to the ground. Xiao Yunzheng moved fast, but still couldn't catch me. "Your Highness, we've been looking all over for you." Xiao Yunzheng's face was ugly. About 30 men, swords drawn and glinting, dripping with killing intent. They were here to end him, tonight, right now. The fight broke out instantly. My body was in agony, hissing in pain, but at the same time I was tearing away at my own snakeskin, waiting for it to fully shed. The pain hit its peak, and I let out a sound I never had before. It rang across the sky. Xiao Yunzheng and everyone else snapped their heads over. A massive python, body arched, spanning several yards on each side. Forked tongue, icy cold. Razor-sharp fangs, like something straight out of a nightmare. Pure terror washed over everyone. Everyone stared at the python in shock. And then it sensed the threat. It launched forward at terrifying speed. "Help, it's a monster!" I had completely lost it. Those eyes had none of the warmth or familiarity from before. When I swung my massive tail sideways at him, Xiao Yunzheng pressed his lips tight and just dodged. He couldn't bring himself to actually swing that sword. After a few more dodges, I snapped again, tongue flicking, eyes locked on Xiao Yunzheng. Pure murderous energy, like I wanted him in pieces. Xiao Yunzheng knew I had completely lost my mind. My tail swept out. Xiao Yunzheng got knocked to the ground. He was completely drained. He'd had that sword raised so many times and still couldn't bring himself to strike my weak spot. His shoulder was already injured. That hit tore the wound right back open. Blood everywhere. Xiao Yunzheng winced and shut his eyes for a moment, but I was already lunging at him with my fangs bared. Xiao Yunzheng shifted slightly, his injured, bleeding shoulder exposed right under my jaws. A python's fangs are way sharper than a little snake's. I bit down hard and ripped the wound open. The pain shot through his entire body. Xiao Yunzheng went pale, but the blood, it reached the python in a whole different way. The corner of his pale lips curled up slightly, just as he thought. The little snake really does love my blood. Lightning flashed. Thunder shook the sky and blasted overhead. Xiao Yunzheng's heart lurched. He looked up. In the blinding flash of lightning, that massive serpent's head suddenly became the face of a breathtakingly beautiful woman. Xiao Yunzheng's eyes locked onto her. But the image was already gone, just like that. Whether it was the lightning or Xiao Yunzheng's gaze, my senses slowly started coming back to me. I looked at Xiao Yunzheng, completely drained of color, then looked down at my own massive serpent body. I let out a couple of soft hisses. The feeding slowly stopped. But instead of looking at Xiao Yunzheng, I lifted my head and stared straight up at the storm brewing in the clouds. I'm mid-shedding and leveling up. And you're seriously throwing a lightning tribulation at me right now? Like the heavens actually heard me. The thundercloud started building up again. I could see it coming right for me. Move! Xiao Yunzheng somehow understood me. He pressed his hand to his shoulder and stood up. "Little snake, you're back? How do you feel? Still hurting?" He'd watched every second of that pain and had it burned into his memory. Hearing Xiao Yunzheng's voice, my heart warmed up just a little, because just a moment ago I had every intention of killing him. I honestly thought he'd just take me out, but he didn't. Never even crossed his mind. Okay, this food source? Not bad at all. My body was still in pain. Shedding always leaves you weak for a while after. Then, boom! A massive crash. Several trees snapped and fell. Some even caught fire and turned to char. Good thing we got out of the way fast, or that lightning would have hit us directly. Xiao Yunzheng glanced at me, then frowned and looked back up at the sky. The storm clouds kept piling up, and that lightning, it was clearly coming for me. Could this little snake actually be a spirit creature? And now, out of nowhere, it shed its skin and transformed into a python, triggering a heavenly lightning trial? Xiao Yunzheng's mind flashed back to that stunning face lit up by the lightning. And then, he looked straight at me. Right at that moment, a bolt came crashing down. Xiao Yunzheng threw himself in front of me for I and took the hit on his back. That whole scene hit different. I froze for a second, staring at the blood pouring from his mouth, his back completely charred and torn. And for some reason, my eyes burned. I'm a snake, no tears, no heart, but in that moment my whole body was shaking. Xiao Yunzheng went quiet for a beat too. Even he didn't expect himself to jump in front of a lightning bolt. For a snake, he saw the worry in my eyes, reached out that big steady hand of his and placed it on my head. "Don't worry, I'm fine. Let's move." I nudged against him, then looked up. Another bolt was still brewing. We were almost at the cave. but the path just kept getting harder. I flicked my tongue, dragging Xiao Yunzheng forward with everything I had left. Eventually, we hit a steep slope, and right there was a little carved-out hollow in the rock, just enough to shelter one person from the rain. Xiao Yunzheng caught on to what I meant. He was breathing hard, looking at me like I'd lost it. This lightning trial is mine. You're mortal. You can't handle it. Stay here. Little snake, he called out, but I turned back, flicked my tongue at him, then dove straight into the darkness. Never looked back. His heart sank. The pitch-black sky ripped open again, a white crack of lightning tearing through. I gritted my teeth and white light started sparking all over my body. It pulled together into a blazing ball of white energy, shot straight up with a killing edge, colliding head-on with the lightning coming down. Sparks exploded everywhere, but it still wasn't enough to stop the raw power of that bolt. Lucky my spiritual energy absorbed some of the damage, otherwise hitting me directly would have turned me to ash. My body was trembling from the pain. I couldn't move a single inch, but at least that was the last bolt. Then, out of nowhere, a strange sound came from nearby. I ignored the wounds and coiled up, eyes sharp and cold, scanning ahead. A normal snake shouldn't be able to transform into a python this fast. As far as I knew, it should take at least 100 years. But somehow I jumped ahead by 80 or 90 years. Even if I was a prodigy, leveling up this fast made no sense. I kept circling back to one thing, the blood of my food supply. That thought locked in a decision for me. But force evolving like this had serious side effects. I was completely drained. Even holding my snake form took everything I had. But there was no way I was going out like this. Becoming some other creature's meal? No thanks. Suddenly, my eyes snapped open. A fox was coming from the distance. Bright red fur, sharp, narrow eyes glowing an eerie green. A hissing warning filled the air. The red fox felt the threat and the killing intent, but still didn't move. Just watching, sizing me up. I made my move before it could figure me out, whipped my massive tail straight at it. Not a trace of weakness showing. The fox dropped its head, front claws digging hard into the dirt, letting out a low whimper. My tail swung at it, and its eyes lit up. It lunged, fangs driving straight for my vital point. This fox didn't care about its own life, so it just wanted a bite of snake meat. It slipped past my fangs over and over, then spun and went straight for my weak spot again, like a cockroach that wouldn't die. Its teeth sank in, but thanks to my dodge, it missed the kill shot. But those razor claws still managed to tear open a gash right around my vital point. The fox yipped smugly, then immediately dipped down to lap up the blood and tear at the flesh. It had been eyeing snake meat for a long time, right then. My massive head came down, ice-cold fangs driving deep into the fox's body. It stared back in pure disbelief. It had been so sure of a clean win today. Nobody saw this coming. The fox fought back hard, until finally it went still. Once it was done, I turned my head in one direction and let out a long, sharp hiss. And sure enough, a figure slowly appeared from that direction. Damn, little snake. Nice work. Obviously, I'm the great serpent ancestor after all. Xiao Yunzhang's eyes locked onto the wound near my vital point. You're such an idiot, though. That was barely a scratch before, but because of that fox, the wound had been torn wide open. He gently laid his hand on my vital point, and my whole body went rigid. Even the fact that he'd just called me, the great serpent ancestor, an idiot. I let it go. I turned and looked at Xiao Yunzheng. His features were sharp and handsome, just deathly pale. His dark phoenix eyes unreadable. My stiff body slowly relaxed bit by bit. I let his hand stay on my vital point, but my eyes never left it. In that moment, I trusted him just a little more. This was the first person to ever lay a hand on my vital point, and not use it against me. And the first person dumb enough to take a lightning bolt from me. So yeah, this food supply of mine, I'll keep him around. Xiao Yunzheng caught on to the change in me, the corner of his lips curled up. He sprinkled the medicine onto my wound. He knew I had this weird ability to heal myself. He figured, if I could actually heal right now, my injuries wouldn't be this bad. I wouldn't even be stuck here unable to move. I was a little caught off guard, then just quietly watched what he was doing. This guy was really something else. The medicine was already running low and his entire back was burned to a crisp. Lightning wounds don't heal easy. And he didn't even save any for himself. By the time he finished bandaging me, Xiao Yunzheng swayed a little. He took a slow breath and eased himself down. This fox pelt is actually really nice. We should take it when we leave. Make it into a cloak. He said it, then glanced over at me. That gorgeous face of hers flashed through his mind. Wrapped in a fiery red cloak, she'd be absolutely breathtaking. Like a goddess who just walked off a painting. My eyes lit up. I loved the idea. Honestly, stocking up on this food supply had my full support. Only thing was, this fox pelt smelled funky. Not really my vibe. But still, picturing my food supply draped in that fiery red fox fur cloak, looking at Xiao Yunzheng's face, I just knew that scene would look absolutely stunning. Red like fire, dripping with elegance. I was deep in my little daydream when a pale, slender wrist reached over and stopped right at my lips. Drink up. Once you've got some strength back, we're heading out. I looked up and stared straight at Xiao Yunzheng, but I didn't move. His face had gone completely pale, like he could pass out any second. Something stirred in me. Sure, I really wanted to drink right now. Just thinking about the taste of blood made me drool, but every single time I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I can hold on a little longer, you drink. Once you've had some, you'll have the strength to carry me back. You know that. My blood actually does something good for you. That caught me completely off guard. I stared at Xiao Yunzheng wide-eyed. Didn't expect him to pick up on that so fast. Xiao Yunzheng loved catching the little snake with very human-like expressions. Right now, she looked almost adorably dumbfounded. What's there to hide about it? This person's blood is special. Took me a while to figure it out. Just not sure yet. Is it only special to me, or does it work the same way on other animals too? Either way, can't let anyone else find out. This food supply is mine, and I definitely can't let him know too much. Humans, can't trust a single one of them. If he ever finds out his blood is special and uses that to keep me in check, that would be a real problem. Drink, I'm getting tired. Once you're done, can you please carry me back, little snake? His eyes lifted slowly, dark as ink but glowing with light. And that light, it was my reflection. He was looking at me with the softest smile. I felt a little embarrassed. It was the first time anyone had ever looked at me like that. Like I was the only thing in the world. It felt really good. I looked away from Xiao Yunzheng's gaze and lowered my head, biting down on his wrist. As the blood drained, Xiao Yunzheng's mind started to blur, his body rapidly aging. Then suddenly, I let out a shriek. Xiao Yunzheng snapped back to consciousness. There at his feet, a small white figure lay curled up. The little snake had shifted back to her original form. Xiao Yunzheng raised his arm and saw the look on my face, all pouty and dramatic, and couldn't help but laugh. I felt weirdly bummed out. I can't carry you back anymore. After drinking his blood, I genuinely felt better. At least I had some energy back, but now I'd shrunk back down so small. How was I supposed to get Xiao Yunzheng home like this? Xiao Yunzheng pushed himself up against a tree. Wrap around me! Let's go! And with that, he started walking. Stumbled, nearly fell. I could feel his whole body trembling. I let my head drop slowly. Coiled around his arm, I could feel every single step he took. The muscles in his arm flexing and tensing with every move. Then I felt it. His body was ice cold. Even colder than mine. And this was someone whose body was always warm. I flicked my tongue out and looked up at his face. His lips were cracked and colorless, pressed tightly together. His hair fell loose across his face, and somehow it made him look fierce. Suddenly I tensed up and raised my body on alert. Something's there, watch out. Xiao Yunzheng stopped, his expression going cold. Then he pushed forward again, only faster this time. Longer strides, a little more urgent. If I heard that right, those are wolves. A piercing wolf howl shattered the silence. My eyes locked onto an ancient tree. No time to run. Climb the tree now! The wolves were already here. Xiao Yunzheng jammed his sword into the ground for support. He barely made it up before the pack closed in. He was gasping, drenched in cold sweat. 4 wolves circled the base of the tree, staring up at him, eyes glowing green. And on top of everything, Xiao Yunzheng was running a fever. Could not have gotten any worse. If this kept up, there was no way he was going to hold on. All 4 were fully grown wolves, nearly the size of a man. Built solid, radiating raw power. They exchanged a look, then started ramming the tree. Lucky for us, the tree was thick enough to take the beating. But we couldn't just sit there. Xiao Yunzheng was on the verge of blacking out. My eyes shifted. Xiao Yunzheng caught it. He reached out and grabbed me. Don't go down there, it's dangerous, just give me a minute. You're barely holding it together. What do you think you're doing? What's a little snake gonna do? I'll go down and bite them. I'm small now. That actually makes me faster. Let me go drop some venom. 1 bite every time. Xiao Yunzheng closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again. The confusion and vulnerability were gone. What replaced it was ice-cold focus. He cracked a sudden smile. All right, hold on. I'll draw their attention. Little snake, can you handle the venom? That one wolf is the weak link, I got it. Wait for me to move first, then you go. Stay safe. He tightened his grip on the sword, shot me one last look, then leapt down. The blade caught the light, razor sharp. Xiao Yunzheng made the first move, going straight for the strongest wolf. It was on. I watched with my heart in my throat. He was still running a fever. He barely had any strength left. How was he even doing this? His movements were sharp and precise. I was stunned. Every swing of the sword was loaded with internal energy. A cold, killing intent wrapped around him. His eyes were fierce. But I knew the truth. He was running on fumes. One wolf lunged, its gray fur almost gleaming in the cold light. Razor claws slashing straight for Xiao Yunzheng's throat. I dove in without thinking, sank my fangs right into it. The wolf went berserk, thrashing wildly. But I was too quick, it couldn't touch me. No time to waste. I twisted and lined up my next target. Xiao Yunzheng glanced over. 1 man, 1 snake. In that moment, we were perfectly in sync. Once all 4 wolves were hit with venom, I pulled back up into the tree, watched quietly as Xiao Yunzheng weaved through the pack. Last move. He kicked off one wolf's head and flew back up. My venom's no joke, but I only got 1 bite on each. Not enough to kick in right away. Xiao Yunzheng collapsed onto the branch, completely drained. I was panicking inside. If only I could shift back into a python, I could carry him home. I shut my eyes, blocked everything out, and let my mind go still. Tiny white specks of light appeared around me, slowly seeping into my body. A strange, mystical energy began to form. Then, my eyes snapped open. It worked. My body expanded several times over, back to python form. I slid down the tree and coiled my massive tail around Xiao Yunzheng. We were back at the cave in no time. This time, the weak phase didn't last long, just 2 days. And after that, my cultivation speed had literally doubled. I looked at Xiao Yunzheng like he was some kind of treasure. This had to be the biggest surprise since my rebirth. Cultivating, gaining power. That was the whole point of my survival. And this guy just shaved years, maybe decades, off that timeline. Any way you looked at it, that was a win. And when I was happy, I trained even faster. I could even shift my size at will now. Just couldn't fully transform yet. But I wasn't in a rush. I peeked over at Xiao Yunzheng, still out cold. I slipped out, found a small piece of ice, and held it to his lips, watched as the color slowly crept back into his cracked lips. Then I started channeling spiritual energy into him to help him heal. The smaller cuts on Xiao Yunzheng's body were already closing up. Even the worst wound on his back was no longer life-threatening. After 2 days out cold, Xiao Yunzheng finally opened his eyes. Oh, thank God, you're awake. I'm up. Are you healed? Yeah, long done. Xiao Yunzheng's eyes slowly drifted over to me. How did you even get me back here? Why do you feel like you got smaller again? When Xiao Yunzheng asked, I let out a couple hisses and showed him something I'd just figured out. So Xiao Yunzheng was forced to watch a little snake transform into a giant python. The corner of his mouth curled into a soft smile, but his eyes were dark as ink, reflecting nothing but one mischievous little snake. You can shrink and you can grow. Calling you little snake doesn't really cut it anymore. Maybe it's time I gave you a real name. I perked right up and let out a couple hisses. My eyes lit up as Xiao Yunzheng cradled me, all coiled up in his palm. So what kind of name do you like, little snake? White as snow, born of the flood dragon's line. The surname Shui. The given character, Jiao. How about I call you Sui Jiao? The second he said it, I snapped my head up, and I was met with that impossibly handsome face, lips curved into a smile. But his eyes, a dark, swirling vortex, locked right onto me, pulling me in, deeper and deeper, no way out. What's wrong? You don't like it? Xiao Yunzheng's voice was low and husky, warm and full of affection. It snapped me right back. I love it. I coiled around his long fingers. You really like it? Then from now on, I'll call you Ah Jiao. I never thought that in this life, someone would give me a brand new name. And that name turned out to be exactly the same as my last life. The two of us, one human, one snake, got along just fine. By the time Xiao Yunzheng fully recovered, only about 10 days had passed, but I could tell he was getting anxious. Something was clearly off. After that day, more people started showing up in the mountains. A lot more. That intel came straight from the snakes in my den, and among those people was someone they called the Second Prince. If a prince came personally, they weren't leaving anything to chance this time. They wanted the crown prince dead for good, which meant Xiao Yunzheng had to get back fast without letting them spot him. So once he was healed up, he pretty much started prepping to head back to the capital. Xiao Yunzheng's gaze settled on my eyes. We leave tomorrow. Come with me. He tilted his head and asked softly, Ah Jiao, have you ever thought about leaving this place? I went quiet for a moment. I hadn't left in a really long time. So wait, my emergency snack was actually asking me to leave with him? The next morning, Xiao Yunzheng headed down the mountain, and I just naturally fell in step behind him. Getting into town went smooth. Xiao Yunzheng headed to the tavern. He traded the rabbits he'd caught on the way for some cash, then ordered a meal while he was there. Now that's a fine snake you've got there, sir. Pure white, not a single off-color scale. Then a middle-aged man walked over and sat himself right down across from Xiao Yunzheng, eyes burning with obsession. His trembling hands reached out toward me. Xiao Yunzheng's eyes went cold. He slammed his chopsticks down hard, smack, stopping the man cold. I flicked my tongue and wound myself up around Xiao Yunzheng's arm. Xiao Yunzheng raised a finger and gently soothed me, his whole presence ice cold as he stared the man down. What do you want? Sir, would you sell that snake? I bared my fangs and glared. This guy reeked of snake, all over him. His eyes were creepy and hungry. I actually felt threatened. Xiao Yunzheng's expression went flat. Sir, you might want to think twice. This snake is highly venomous. I can see you treat it like a pet, but snakes are cold-blooded creatures at the end of the day. They love to turn on people. By the time it bites you, there won't even be time to call for help. Is it really worth dying over a snake? This is my emergency snack, and as long as he doesn't try to kill me, I'm not biting him. I flicked my tongue at the man a couple times, then turned to look at Xiao Yunzheng. Would he actually hand me over to the snake hunter? I have to ask, look, if I were to sell you this snake, what exactly would you do with it? Why was Xiao Yunzheng asking that? Did he actually want to sell me? He took the snake hunter's words to heart. He thinks I'm cold-blooded, that I'll eventually turn on him. I tried to read something from those eyes. There was nothing there. In that moment, a chill hit me hard. Me, always cold-blooded, actually felt it in my bones. I bared my fangs and whipped toward his wrist. The snake hunter saw my move, and his eyes lit up with excitement. He'd been waiting for me to turn on my owner so he could swoop in. That's why what he said next was pure poison. Kill it for the gallbladder, strip the skin, pull the tendons. Price is negotiable. How much are you looking to get for it? Get lost. She's my baby. Even if she's poison, I wouldn't complain. Besides, she'd never hurt me anyway. Not now. Not ever. So don't let me catch you around her again. Because whatever you just said, that's gonna be your fate. His eyes were ice cold, like they'd been frozen solid. Not until Xiao Yunzheng walked away. Did the whole tavern finally breathe again? Was Jiao scared? Or just mad? The corners of Xiao Yunzheng's eyes were still tinged red, forced out by pure white-hot rage. But the moment he faced me, all of that melted away. I kept quietly drinking his blood. I honestly thought he was about to sell me out. Not that it would have mattered with my abilities. I wouldn't end up like those snake catchers said, but I still hate betrayal, I despise it. Just like in my last life when that human turned on me, I blew up my own soul, destroyed everything, just to make sure my enemy was wiped off the face of the earth. Gone for good. I'd actually looked into what happens when a snake gets caught by a snake hunter. Yeah, pretty brutal. So I won't let that happen to you, Ajiao. No matter what, I will never let you end up in a situation like that. He said it low, like a quiet vow. My eyes half closed, gave a slow blink. I snuck a glance up at his face and fell right into his warm, gentle gaze. Doting, tender. I looked away on instinct. But deep down, I felt this weird rush of happiness. As long as you don't betray me, I'll have your back, always. And without Xiao Yunzheng even knowing it, I made my own silent promise right back. So this time, if I'm heading back to the capital, would you come with me, Ajiao? If I leave you on your own? And you accidentally get grabbed by a snake hunter? Just the thought of it made something violent stir inside Xiao Yunzheng. He shut his eyes for a moment, then opened them again. His voice dropped even lower, heavy with worry. Ajiao, I'm really scared for you. Come with me to the capital. Let me protect you. Okay, Ajiao, is that a yes? The corner of his lips curved up just slightly. That cold edge of his gone. He looked like someone standing in warm sunlight, refined, radiant.